guys, what's up? My name is Ranzo, I'm your host, and today the setup is a little bit different because we're doing a group discussion. The location is JJ's Diner, located in Pyeongtaek, and the diner is actually owned by Jessica Fry. You guys remember that episode on MFiles? Want to hear the story? I'll show you guys a preview.
We're at Honey Beauty Supply in South Korea, located near the Pyeongtaek camp, the Camp Humphreys military base. So just across the street, we opened our own restaurant as well. And so, because there was no good food in the area at that time, when I opened the hair store. So this is JJ's American Diner. This diner is
We're gonna have a discussion about life in Korea, life in Asia, and answer some questions, some frequently asked questions by some of you guys who are watching this video right now. I'm gonna introduce our guests today. You guys may be familiar with most of them if you remember the episodes. So to my right, we have
Makiba.
All right, and
Michael.
All right,
Naya. Dominique.
all right. So we're in Seoul, right, South Korea. So tell me about the responses that you guys have gotten since the interviews, right? So let's do that, right? Because you guys have talked about some questions, so we can start with that. So Makiba, we'll start with you. Like, what has it been like since you've been on the MFiles?
Again, thank you for the experience. I was so happy to share my story and just a little piece of who I am with the world, and hopefully if that helps someone else, I'm happy with that. I've got a lot of people inbox me on Instagram, which was interesting. I've had some, thank you for sharing your story. You're beautiful. Thank you. But also some questions that, like, I want you, if you want help, to please reach out. But I also would like to encourage people to be like self-sufficient. Like, I can only share with you my experience, how I got here. The exact path I took is the only path I know. And that's one of many options. So I've had people in my inbox like, how do I get a job? And I feel bad because I only got here because Dominique had a job. And the program, some people backed out last minute and they were scrambling for teachers, and Dominique recommended me, and I was hired within 2 weeks, which isn't like a normal course. So I don't have the answers, So I go to Google, and there's so many beautiful Black people, and a lot of people in general, but Black YouTubers that document their experience. So I would encourage you, before you go into anybody's inbox and like, how can I get a job in Korea? Just do a little research so you can come with a direct question. Like, hey, I saw X, Y, and Z. Is this true? That's different than, how do I get a job in Korea? Because I know how I got a job, and that's one in a million different ways. So just do some research before you reach out to people, because then we'll be a bit more equipped to help you. Because I'm willing, I can't tell you how to get a job in Korea.
Come with like questions prepared.
Yes,
so
like,
you know how
hey, I went on the website and it says I need to have my visa stamped. Is this something you experience? And I could be like, oh yeah, but you don't have to pay $100. You can go to Miami and do it for $30. Like that I can help, but just a general, how do I get a visa? How do I get a job? These are all things that have to be done a certain way. So why not go straight to the source instead of like, just my suggestion to people.
Okay.
For me, a question that I got is, someone asked this, like, I don't want to be a teacher. What other jobs are there in Korea? And I'm a teacher and I'm not looking for other jobs in Korea. So I don't know. I have not researched that. So I know you can be a teacher, you can be in the military, you can own business like Jessica, she owns 3. You can do so many things, but I don't really know about those options. And the options that I do know about, I don't know the avenues to those options because that's not the avenue that I'm taking. And so people it's just hard because you want to help people, but you don't want people to be upset with you when you're like, I don't know, I can't help you.
And then let's see, Michael told me that I could come to Korea and open a business. Michael did not tell you that, by the way.
I say a lot of things. But, so it's just knowing, like Makiba's, to reiterate what she said, just knowing specific questions and knowing exactly what you're looking for. And I've gotten messages too, and most of them are pleasant, and most of them is like, your inspiration, thank you, and that's really nice. And then they have like specific questions, and I can help out with that. We can have a dialogue. But then some people like I want to come to Korea, what do? And I was like, I don't even know where you're coming from. And coming from the United States is different from coming from Canada or from New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, the Philippines, anywhere in Europe. So I can't, the things and the path that I took or that we took, even us being from the United States, is going to be different because we all came from different states. So yeah, just knowing that, and
Just a plug, if you do want to come here, there's lots of ways that you can get here. You can use Dave's ESL Cafe, which isn't just for teaching. It literally gives you a bunch of different jobs that you can do. Contracting jobs, teaching jobs. If you want to own a business, things like that. You can also use Glassdoor, which not only reviews, but it also tells you what jobs are available in whatever country you're looking for. So literally you can just Google how to get to Korea via job, and all of these different sites will pop up. So it's that simple, guys.
So you said Dave, ESL, and what was the next one?
Glassdoor.
Glassdoor.
So what do you guys say that the moving here, is it challenging? What do you guys say, like the transition, like getting a job, was it challenging, like overall? Like would you say, or is it just straightforward and pretty much easy?
I guess for me it was easy, but it depends on, I think, which companies, organizations you go through, because I know like Epic, that's a very difficult process. That's kind of like a 2 or 3-fold process sometimes.
They denied me 3 times.
So so our program, the program that I'm in, was easier. And again, like there's many different ways you can go through, like a recruiter who will actually do the legwork for you in finding schools and matching you up with schools. You can actually go through a school yourself and do it that way, or go through a company or whatever. So it depends. And my program, I was fortunate enough, they pretty much do everything. Like they take care of all our paperwork, like bank stuff. They do all of that. They did our TESOL training, pretty much any medical, bank, whatever stuff that we need done, they do it for us because it's in Korean. So we've been very fortunate to have someone to help us, like visas, everything. They help us
Picked
out.
us up from the airport.
So that's been a huge help with not having to being somewhere and not
Provide housing.
not understanding what's going on. So that's been a huge help. And then like as far as like going back to like the comments, I've received a lot of good comments, same questions. I actually met this older guy. He was telling me he's a dentist. No, not like that. No, he's a dentist. His wife, she's actually getting her PhD. And we have he messaged me this week. We talk every few weeks, but he was asking me about the history coming from younger Black Americans and older Black Americans. So we had a really interesting dialogue this week about it. And I was explaining, because he was saying that he felt like a lot of younger people, they didn't really care what the older people had to say, and I gave him a different perspective on it. And so we had a really cool dialogue, and I met another guy who was telling me his daughter was here teaching, and so watching the videos, he kind of feels, I guess, safer with her being here. There are more people here. So I've gotten, so I've gotten a lot of good feedback. And I got fan art. That was so cool. Somebody drew me. I was like, that was really cool. So it's been,
you can see it on our Instagram, right? So you can shout out your IG. Well, you guys will see it.
Yes.
Right. I'll put it somewhere right there. Yeah.
As far as getting here, it was pretty easy for me.
Yeah.
I went to the sister school of the program that we're in. So that was the connection for me, was being able to just go and say, hey, I'm thinking about teaching here. But also I had a roommate at the time who was accepted into the program.
Okay.
And her dad is a president of one of the universities. So he knew all the ins and outs of how to get in, what to do, things like that. So it was very easy for me to come here to figure out. So for me, it was more like who I know and work in that way.
Okay. So like, what do you guys like enjoy the most about being like overseas, like in like Asia, for instance? Or you know, maybe better yet, like what's one thing that you encountered that you weren't prepared for?
Staring and pointing and people taking pictures.
Spatial awareness.
That one I wasn't. The like, it's so funny, right? Because in the States, you do have people that'll bump you or push you on public transportation, but we do the my bad, sorry. And like when you think about it, it's not genuine. It's a reflex, right?
Yeah.
Like if you touch someone, my bad, I'm sorry, but it's not a I'm sorry, I hit you. It's just a reflex. So it's like we're taught if you do this, you do this, right? So to come here and then have someone bump you and you don't get the my bad, I'm sorry, you're like,
bruh, you just bumped me.
so you just not going. Okay, and that I wasn't prepared for. I didn't realize how much the ingenuine, my bad and I'm sorry, helps like placate me. Like, okay, it's cool. And I don't know, it's almost like, so South Korea is like as big as what, Florida? So sometimes I just feel like there's so many people here fighting for like space. Not fighting necessarily, but like they just be, like even the part that freaks me out is like the ATM. You know, in the States, you know, you keep your distance. If someone is at the thing, here they'll be like, "Excuse me, would you like to put money into my account?" So just personal space. The pointing and staring, I was aware that it could happen, and it's not too bad. I mean, it can be annoying, but the personal space one for me, getting on the bus, like we're all gonna get on the bus, or elevators. That was another one, like. Elevator, like etiquette, like people are getting off, move. No, they will stand. Like I need to be the first one on the elevator. So it's like you're getting off an elevator.
I think in the United States we have, every country has unspoken rules and unspoken etiquette. And for me, especially being from the South, there is a very, very strong sense of this is right and this is wrong, like holding doors. And if I'm walking on a sidewalk, you always walk on the right side. So it like this flow of traffic. Yeah. And from my experience in Korea is like you're walking and just people are walking fast or people walking slow. There are couples holding hands. They're walking at different speeds. There are people on their phones who are weaving in and out, and everyone is bumping into me.
There's like no direct line.
And so even when I went back to the States to visit my sister, she was like, "Why are you walking so fast?" I was like, in Korea, I have to walk fast because I have to be able to weave through people because I will end up missing a bus or being late to an engagement or an event or to work because I'm trying to like do this thing around people. Yeah. And so it's like the pointing in the stairs is irritating, something like I was expecting it. It does happen more often, but it's for me, it's like you get used to it. It's like, oh, people are going to point and stare. But that like being on a bus and people are just sitting in a seat and then someone just presses their front against my shoulder and they're just
on their phone
bouncing and rubbing on me the whole time, and they're like, they're not bothered. And I was like, I did not sign up for this. I feel like you owe me at least a dinner. You don't even know my name. And that's something you really don't get used to, at least my experience.
I specifically said the pointing and staring. I've gotten used to it being in Korea. As I don't have to deal with it as much, but when I went on vacation to Vietnam, I had such a terrible issue with it. It's just like, I literally got off the plane and it just seemed like everyone was just like, cha oi, which means, oh my gosh, in Vietnamese. And it's just like, cha oi, and I literally like climbing a mountain, I'm hot, I'm like bothered and everything. And then I get this Vietnamese woman just, really? Like, you just took my whole picture. And then when I got ready to go get her, she starts running. And it's just like, yo, are you serious
like,
right now? Like, I mean, literally, like her mom cued her, like, yo, she's coming after you. Next thing you know, out. And I'm just like, really? And I have my friend with me. She's like, no, don't. She's like, you're going to get deported. This was going to happen. And I'm like, forget that. She has my whole picture. Like, no, it's not okay. And it's just like things like that. Like, in America, we just don't walk up to someone and take their picture just because they look different. Or I don't have guys, or even just walking, minding my own business. And I have a man grope my whole butt. And I'm just like, wow.
That was in Korea or Vietnam?
No, Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
And so it was just like, wow, you just completely violated me as a person, as a woman, my personal space. And it's just like, this is not okay. Wow. But it's so funny because it's like, if I was to do that to you, if I was to take your picture, if I was to touch you inappropriately, it would be a whole issue. You would have the authorities ready to take me to jail. But when they do it, it's okay because you're different, you're exotic. I want to go home and show my family I've seen something exotic. And it's like, I'm not exotic. I'm a person just like you are. And so it's just like those differences that you notice when you're overseas, and that I think it's not a luxury for us back at home, but here it becomes a luxury for them. And I don't really like that because at the end of the day, it's still like, I'm a person. Like, I have feelings, I have thoughts just like you do, and I don't want you having my picture on there, especially since I didn't give you permission to have it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Can I pose a question? For me, and it might be different for all of you, but do you feel like living abroad, or at least living in Korea, you have to get used to the fact of being seen as less than a person? Because I know in my experience, it's like I walk around and it's like, with that, it's, you wouldn't want it done to you. Like I asked my friends, it's like, oh, if someone did that, that's so despicable, that's so rude. I was like, then why does everyone do it? I was like, to me, it has to be because you don't see me as an equal. It's almost like you see me as an animal or an attraction. Yeah. It's like you don't see, it's like, oh, I wouldn't want someone to do this to me, so I wouldn't do that to them. It's like, oh, this is something different. Not even as a person, it's something I don't know. I want to document it, or I want to see what it looks like. I want to see what it feels like. I want to experience that, rather than I want to get to know this person and their experience. And so for me, I feel like I have to walk around just knowing like I don't have all the rights that I used to have living in my home country.
Yeah, definitely. I could definitely agree with that, because I do. I mean, it's, you know, being real is common knowledge. For instance, if something happens, if something were to, you know, something were to go down, like,
somebody trying to pop off.
Yeah, like for the most part, like, you know, they're gonna side with, you know, their people. Like if the cops are called. You know, there's been many instances where even if, you know, they were the aggressor in the beginning, it's like, okay, well, we just either just forget about it, or, you know, or the other person would get in trouble. And I think that's just like a, you know, a known thing. And I feel like, I don't know, I guess in with any country, or not any country, I think because Korea is so like, you know, it's not, they don't really mix. And so it's just them. And they have, you know, this, you know, their pride, which, you know, they are entitled to have. But I think that also spills over into that kind of, sometimes like entitlement. And I feel like, you know, they feel entitled to certain things, like the touching. Like my students, you know, having to teach them. You cannot come up to me and touch me. You can ask me. I can say yes, or I can say no. And if I say no, that means no. Or, you know, I was waiting for the elevator one day and had somebody just come up and just put their hand in my head. And I was like, okay, don't do that. Because if I were to do it, it would be completely different. And so I think, I guess because Korea is like, you know, it's such a homogenous society in the way that they kind of view each other. I think they, at times, you know, there is that entitlement. Like, okay, so you're here, so you're going to have to follow our rules. And, I mean, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't deal with the idea that I'm less of a person here, right? But that's because of how I frame my thoughts about living in Korea. So I am a guest here. Like, I'm not one of the people who moves to Korea with the intention of making this my home long term, or becoming a member of this community long term. Like, I am here, and I feel like my purpose is to teach English. This is our transaction. You pay me, this is my service to this community. I will be law-abiding, XYZ. So I don't like the touching when it happens, but I'm now 3 years with my kids. They know. Like, when I get new students, and you can tell, like, I see my students, I'm assuming because I don't speak Korean, but the interaction they have is like, we ask, or like, you don't touch 𝐸𝐸 teacher, like she'll let you, but you have to ask, like those kind of things. And so because the history isn't here, and I don't think it comes from like a vindictive place, I don't hold on to it. Versus in the States where the history is there. And anytime I feel slighted, I know that even if you aren't intending to be prejudiced to me, it's how my system is built, not our system is built. It's not built for the Black person to succeed. It's not built for the woman to succeed. So as a Black woman, I'm twice striped. So it's like, I'm more aware of it home than I am here, because here it's only because I'm different. It's not rooted in the idea that a Black person was 3/5 of a person. You know what I mean? A Black person is ownership. Here it's just, you're different, and I've been taught by media that maybe you're less than, but I don't really know inherently. Versus in the States, I would not let a lot of things that I allow to not bother me here slide in America. Like, you're gonna have to tell me your issue with me is not because I'm Black, or it's not because I'm a woman, and it's not because I'm a millennial, or just all the other things that are built in at home. Whereas here, I move through here like a duck in water. Like, you can say whatever you want because I'm getting paid. I'm doing my job. I'm offering a service to the community, to children who are the most important part of the community. Everything else, you can keep that, because that's on you, not me. Whereas home, I'm a part of that community. I will raise my kids here. I have to make this community better, because you will not look at my son and daughters in a way that will hinder their success because of your bigotry and ignorance. So it's different for me.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for me, there are times when I do feel less than. Like, I could be on a bus, headphones in, reading a book, and I'll see like people, you know, bus is filling up, and the only seat that's available is next to me, and I'll see people like, oh no, where do I sit? Oh, I gotta sit next to the Black girl.
But is it the Black girl or the foreigner?
It could be the foreigner, but there are times, and it's personally just how I feel. There are times when I just feel like, because I'm the only foreigner on my bus, it always feels like, oh no, I gotta sit next to the Black girl. Like, dang.
And I'm not saying it's not that. I'm not saying it's not that.
But it always just feels like, dang, her skin color is gonna rub off on me. I'm gonna go to school Black. Oh no, what's gonna happen? You know, that's how it feels. Or like, even if I'm grocery shopping, you know, and I'll see people like suddenly, oh my gosh, oh my goodness, what to do? Or if I'm gonna go like get a bubble tea, oh my gosh, who's gonna take her order? Who's gonna talk to her? And then when I'm like, 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐿, and they're like, oh, you know Hangul. Really?
To piggyback a little bit off of what you said, even though our experiences are different, I feel like that's why it's because I'm not the type of person to like just sit and I'm less than, or people don't see me as equal because of the history in the United States. Yeah. But I feel like it's easier because of what you said, because I see it as they just see me as different. Sometimes there is, but it's not malicious. It's not hateful. It's more of making me a spectacle, which I also don't like, or trying to ignore me completely, which I also don't like. But I know that it's usually not based in hate.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes it easier. For me. Where, like you said, like in the United States, if someone like I've had the issue with like people putting their hands in my hair, and I was like, just breathe. They don't know. They've never seen someone like me. Where in the States, it's like, you should know better. Right. You should know not to touch me.
Yeah. I guess giving, you know, being more gracious. I feel like I definitely hear being more gracious, like she said, because there's things in America. It's like, okay, bruh, look, nah,
square up.
We ain't doing that, right? But here I'm like, okay, so listen, you did this, and I don't like that. So maybe next time you should do this. So I feel like, you know, and giving people more like the benefit of the doubt, versus being back at home like, no, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And I think something else I saw in the comments, just to kind of piggyback off of this, is, oh, somebody touched my hair, this, or if this happened. I've seen a lot of people in the comments saying like, how can y'all live there with all of that happening? And it's like, in a perfect world, you have this idea when something happens, this is how I'll react. Mm-hmm. But then in the reality, it's like, if I fight on this bus, this is my everyday mode transportation to work. Where does that get me? Now I gotta walk an hour to work because one person touched my hair, and now the Korean public bus system say, not you, little girl, you ain't coming back on these buses. So, so it's like this idea, like, if somebody did this to me, at least in the comments, it just seems like everyone's like, I would react. Whereas, kind of like the idea of the laws, at home I know if we fight and the cops are called, I have a chance because we both get to tell our stories. Exactly. Here, we fight, I have to fight because I will be deported. Yes. So it's like this.
If I put my hands on you, I'm putting my hands on you because I'm going home. I'm going home. The stakes are so much higher.
Yeah. And it's like when you think about it, like, dirty hands touching you is disgusting. Mm-hmm. And it's rude, it's demoralizing, it's all these things. But my self-worth is not attached to anybody else but me. So you touching me is not taking money off my paycheck. It might ruin those 5 minutes of my day, but the way I react can now ruin, 5 years of my life, right? Or whatever.
From traveling.
So that's one thing I would like to probably share about this conversation and your earlier question is this idea of, I wouldn't, if this was me, X, Y, Z, and maybe you would. Maybe people do handle things differently, but the things that I hold value to aren't worth risking to fight somebody for touching me, where I could just be like, Anio, like, that's not okay. Yeah. Or sometimes with my kids, I touch their hair right back and stare them in the eye like, what we gonna do? Like, you don't like it. And I've actually had the opposite interactions on the bus than Naya, like the old women, which I find so funny.
Make you sit down.
Yes, like they would be like, come sit. Like they will not get up till you come. Because they know someone else will take it. Like, Koreans are quick for the seat. So they'll be like,
yes, I will say I do have that experience often on the bus, and it's always the old ladies. There's very few old men who do it, but the 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐿 are amazing. They make sure I get a seat. It don't matter. They're like, here.
And I think that's some of the only times I've been touched. And I giggle at it because if I've never seen a big butt, I don't want to touch it too. So when the old woman like grab on my pants pocket and like, girl, you grabbed a little too much, but it's okay because you want me to sit. And if I had seen what my mama gave me walk by, I might have grabbed it too.
That's happened to me before.
Old women only.
I had a lady girl, but and I just turned around. I just turned around and laughed. She just thought it was so funny. I was like, it's okay. I know.
The 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐿s are amazing, though. I will say that. They are amazing.
I would also like to add a caveat, like you said. Our experience is different. We are in the same program. We are in the same city. We're working with we are at different schools, but in the same program. Mm-hmm. So our experiences are similar in some ideas. Mm-hmm. Some people live different. Like if you live in Pyeongtaek or Seoul, or you live near a military base, your experience will be vastly different. Yes. If you live in a very, very small area where there are no other foreigners, your experience will be vastly different. So sometimes in the comments of certain videos, people will be like, that's not my experience. That doesn't happen. It's not that bad. Or it's a lot worse than this. It's like, that's my experience. And I'm not saying this is Korea as experience. Yeah, right. It's not the whole. This is just
my
what
personal.
We experience for us. Because we were like, oh, that Koreans, I've never been disrespected.
They're so nice.
They're so nice.
And they speak English.
And I was like,
in Seoul.
Yeah, right? Not my experience.
In Busan.
Yes.
In Cheonan, no.
Oh my gosh, we had a taxi driver. He was playing the harmonica. It was so funny. I was scared. Like I could laugh now, but I was scared. He was playing the harmonica.
I didn't know you were scared. You were egging him on.
He was playing the harmonica, singing, trying to find a YouTube video all while driving.
Oh my god,
we're gonna die.
No, you weren't. You were like, I know this song. Yes. And I'm in the backseat like
looking back now, it was fun. It was fun, but it was dangerous. But it was dangerous. And we're still here. We're still here.
She said
We
she
like
gave
to
me
do
a
good
good
rap.
time.
For the record, I knew the song.
She did not.
Do you guys have a sense of like what about passive people being passive aggressive?
All the
Oh,
time.
that's-
Do you guys,
that's
is
Korean
that a daily
culture.
thing? Do you guys feel that every day?
That's Korean culture.
Not every day, but it is something that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Is it prevalent in your experience, or do you experience it a lot?
I
I don't have a very high interaction with Koreans.
Like, even if you're not like maybe going on the like being in public spaces, right? Like buses, trains.
So in my
all that.
opinion, right, like Koreans are very like self-sufficient. Like before I moved to Korea, on my flight to get from New York here, and so it's like all Koreans because it's the flight to Korea and a few foreigners. This lady going up the escalator, I will never forget this, fell down. Have you ever seen a person like fall down the escalator, her suitcase, her going, and it's like, so I run up the escalator, put my suitcase, and then try to like run down and go help her. And the Koreans, literally, I am not exaggerating, just step over sis and kept going. And I'm watching like, nobody's gonna help her as I'm running down the escalator, and they just going up the escalator.
That's what
And
they do.
and that is Koreans in a nutshell. For the most part, if you are not their very immediate family, it's not their concern. So I can see how that can translate as passive aggressive. Like, I don't care if all these people standing at this bus stop getting on this bus. I need to get on this bus. I need to get home.
yes.
You fall, that's on you. Get up. You better make this bus, but I'm on this bus. So I can see how that can seem passive aggressive, but I haven't had any like direct interaction other than like taxi drivers. They can get a little rowdy, and it just be like, sir, my money spent just like anybody else's money. Stop playing with me. Drive the vehicle. Like,
And that man started yelling at us. And he was like, where do you want to go? This is I was like, sir, I'm sorry. I will. Do you want me to get out? I'll call another taxi. You're angry with me? I'm wrong.
When they get lost,
Exactly.
they get peace.
Exactly. Or
we got in a taxi because we volunteered at an orphanage together, and we forgot that our orphanage was technically in the city over because it's so close. Like where we live is so close. So we told him the name of their building, forgetting we weren't in our city, and he took us to the name of this building for that city. So he pulls up looking at us expectantly to get out the car, and we looking like,
Not it.
this ain't it, chief.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
like
He got
repeating
so
the name,
mad.
and we're like, oh.
And we're like, oh, we're sorry.
Sorry.
And it's fine. And he just went on this
Rant.
rant.
In
He went,
Korean.
you gotta know this is in the English phenomenal. He's like, this is this city. You can't ask to go to this city.
I am this taxi, and we just
But
like,
my only concern was
the
meter
meter's
was
still running,
I
sir.
was
So
like,
just drive the
you can yell at me.
Exactly. I was like, because I'm gonna take a taxi to my city. So
He
I was like,
took us, and we ended up becoming best friends.
yeah,
His wife
and it was
lives
fine. It was completely
New
fine.
Zealand or Australia
Yeah.
with their children, and that's why his English
It
was
usually
so good.
ends like that. They'll be upset, and
Yeah.
like the time we were going to Temple, they'll be really upset, and then by the time they drop us off, we're friends.
Would you guys encourage more people to travel, like back?
Yes.
to overseas?
Yes.
To come to
Travel.
Korea?
Yes.
Get your
Live
passport.
Do it.
Yes.
Get a passport.
Like,
Get them
I
stamps.
feel like
Google
I
how to
have
get a passport.
learned so much I've learned so much from
Yeah.
living abroad.
Yes.
And I feel like if everyone could just really live abroad and
Even
try
for a
to
year.
experience the culture and go out and have adventures and explore and get to know the people and have these conversations. I've learned so much about other cultures. I learned so much about my culture. I learned so much about myself and how other people see the world, how other people see me.
Yeah.
And it has just been a completely eye-opening experience that... And that's one thing I love about, someone asked me the other day, is like, what's your favorite thing about living in Korea? I was like, every day is an adventure. Every day there's something new. I feel like if everyone could experience that and sit in that, it's like, it's such a good feeling. And just also like, I was walking with my coworkers the other day, and I was like, I live in a foreign country.
I do that sometimes.
Yes, I was just looking out. And I was like,
Yeah.
I live in a foreign country. Like, I'm about to go to my own apartment, get a glass of wine,
Yes.
do some lesson plans,
Yeah.
just like a Korean.
Yeah. Like, I've been here 3 years, and sometimes I'll just like, you know, I'm out walking with myself. I'm like, I'm out here living in Korea.
Yeah.
And I have learned so much about myself. I've gotten, you know, grown up a little bit, gotten more independent, just learned more about like handling certain situations, dealing with certain things, learning about other culture, learning about other people. So if you have the opportunity, do it for sure. I don't regret it.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't regret anything.
For me, I actually fell in love with traveling through my uncle. So for me, I am the first person who's ever been overseas in my immediate family.
Okay.
And I'm the first person in my immediate family to have a passport, to ever been anywhere, or even just to even attend college and graduate. And so for me, traveling is not only a luxury, but I do view it as one of the greatest forms of education. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about the worldview around me. But also just traveling to different countries and being immersed in different cultures, I've been challenged as a person. I've been challenged just within my faith, what I believe, my morals, things like that. So yeah, traveling is extremely important to me, and I do encourage anyone who decides, I want to get on a plane and just go somewhere, go. Even if it's just to another state, go travel. You know, get out of your comfort zone. Learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. A lot of people think it's like it's expensive, but I know from what I've heard, but there's so many, like, you know, travel deals, like secret flight deals. There's so many opportunities for you know, finding very cheap flights to go places. So I know that like that's really popular now with a lot of like people that travel, being like pretty much like experts on finding cheap flights. There are people that you can pay to do that service for you, you know, or if you want to learn on your own. So I think that's a setback that people don't maybe not know about. Resources that they can find to be able to go somewhere.
People say that it's very expensive, and at least from where I'm from, when I go back home, people's like, that's so scary. I could never do that. I'm so afraid. And something that I try to live by, and that I said in our original video, feel the fear and do it anyway. Just go. Because I'd rather do something that I'm afraid of than have to live with the regret of never knowing. If you're afraid to travel by yourself, find someone to go with you. If you are afraid to go overseas, go other places that are close and try to work your way up to that. But I don't ever want anyone to feel like, oh, I would love to do that, but I could never do that. Like either living abroad or traveling overseas at all. Do your research. Ask for help if you need it, because there are people out there who would love to help you, who want to have these conversations, we all want people to travel and go out and experience things. Just don't let fear don't let it hold you back. Like Naya said, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because you'll be uncomfortable for a little bit, and periodically, yes, maybe, but the experiences that you will have from that experience will far surpass anything else.
And then for me, definitely I'm a pro travel. I think it's, like Naya said, one of the greatest experiences and greatest educators you can have. And it's an education you control. Like, you choose the experiences you have, versus with formal education, you may be able to choose like the course, but you don't get to choose the material you're learning, right? And then also I think right now there's this kind of wave of like, this is what travel looks like. Like, you get the Instagram photos, like all these like really what look like pricey and all this stuff, which is great if you can afford to do it, but travel is such that it's accessible. Like I grew up in the Virgin Islands, so on an island. So moving to the States, and it's like you mean you could drive somewhere and you haven't done it? Like you can actually just go and you haven't? Like on an island, you know, you're limited. Like that's it. But when you move to the States, so it's like, take the opportunity, explore where you live. A lot of people don't even realize the monotony of their life. Like you know the things you know, but your city holds so much more. Like you don't even have to get a passport. I mean, I encourage you to get one, but there's so many experiences right in your backyard that you don't realize. And that's something I will always give credit to my mom. Like she's a single parent, she raised a bunch of us, so we didn't grow up with travel, like, you know, summer vacations. We grew up with once or twice in the summer she would find something within a driving distance and we would go explore. So there's things in Florida that I would go back to school excited, like telling my friends, like, oh, we went to the Mariana Caves, and they're like, huh? You went? Like, we know about them, but like, you went? I was like, yeah, it's like right there. Like, you can just like go. Or till this day, I'm about to be 30, and I can't believe I've swam with snakes and alligators because they're in the water in Florida, and my mom's like, we're going to this river. So there's so many things at your fingertips that I don't think people realize how they box themselves in. Like, you go to your house, maybe your friend's house, work, your supermarket, maybe your nightclub or whatever, but there's so much. I will definitely encourage you, if travel is something you aspire to do, start at your local library.
Yes.
Having a library card is probably the greatest connector to traveling, because what you can explore in books will definitely encourage you to, I need to go see this for myself.
Yes.
So I would encourage everyone to local library, get a library card, and then work your way up to a passport.
Videos.
Hey.
And yeah, definitely, like traveling is not that expensive. It's funny that a lot of people think you gotta break the bank to do it. I saw this thing a few days ago that said, let me try to like recite it verbatim. I think it said, traveling, well, the world is like a book.
Yes.
And those who don't travel only read
one page,
chapter or page or something like that.
Yes.
All right. But guys, with that, we're gonna end. You know, this was, you know, a different discussion. Well, the first, I think it was. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, like, give it a big thumbs up. And also, you'll find the Instagram handle for everyone here in the description down below. Remember to subscribe to this channel for weekly videos on the Black experience across the globe. Until next time, I gotta catch a train. Bye.
Bye.
안녕하세요.
Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to share your story or have us visit your region, send us a message on any of our social media platforms or via our website.